There's like a narrative these days that you start a brand and then you have to build it and sell it. I'm very much against that. Like, I love Dlouise and I want to work on it for like the next 5, 10, 15 years. People buy Dlouise because they're invested in me and my story. So I lost my mum in 2017 and I named the brand after her because so I was like, if I'm going to do this for a long period of time, I get bored so quickly and so easily. So I was like,
literally, like, attention span.
like, done. So I was like, I need something to like really make me stick at this.
77% of businesses fail in their first year, which like is so high, like over 50% of them, you know.
Yeah.
And then it's like another like further 10 then fail in the second year.
Yeah.
So it is crazy that like if you've got to really want it as well. Like you can't be doing this on a whim. It's got to be like I'm putting everything into this.
I hated my job so much that I was like, I'm going to do anything to launch this brand and like get it off the ground. Biggest recommendation would be in the beginning, if you can afford to get on a flight to China and go and meet them in person, it will be the most valuable thing that you ever do.
Before we get into today's episode, I want to give a shout out to a special sponsor, Sam Lawrence Recruitment. We all know that finding the right people or the right job can feel really overwhelming, and that's exactly where Sam comes in. He really just gets it. It's not just about ticking boxes, it's about connecting the right people with the right opportunities. He takes the time to understand you and exactly what you're looking for, whether you're building a team or taking that next career leap. So definitely get in touch. Trust me, you'll be glad you did. At Getting to Grow, I believe that growth starts with connection. And that's where our sponsor, We Are All Marketing, comes in. I'm super excited to be partnering with Vic and the team over at We Are All Marketing. They're not just a marketing agency, they're storytellers, strategists, and your biggest advocates. Whether you're building a brand, launching a product, or strengthening your digital presence, We Are All Marketing helps you turn ideas into impact. With a personalised, results-driven approach, they ensure your vision reaches the right audience in the right way. Ready to grow your business? Visit weareallmarketing.com and see how they can help you thrive. Getting to Grow is also brought to you by the Coconut Collab. And full disclosure, as I'm sure most of you are aware, I work there, so I know how much love goes into everything that we make. We're all about creating delicious, dairy-free, plant-based treats that do not compromise on taste. From our creamy yogurts to our indulgent desserts, everything's made with coconuts and a whole lot of care. If you're looking for something naturally good but seriously tasty, and my favourite is just our natural coconut yogurt, I have it most mornings with granola and lots of honey. Trust me, you're going to absolutely love it. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Getting to Grow. On this week's episode, we have the lovely Olivia, founder of Dlouise. Now, this is a slightly different podcast to what I'm usually doing, so we've changed a little bit from food and beverage to jewellery, which I'm really excited to get in and understand because I met Olivia at a careers edit event, loved the story and was like, I've got to get her on the pod and learn more about it. So, Olivia, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you for having me. So my name's Olivia and I'm the founder of Dlouise. And Dlouise specialises in high quality but accessible jewellery. So I'm a huge believer that you don't have to spend a lot of money on things to have a great experience and to have great product. So basically started it 4 years ago with my boyfriend, now fiance, and have just sort of been scaling it and growing it ever since.
Amazing. So how did it begin? What were you doing like before Dlouise, and then how did the initial idea and concept come to life?
Yeah, so I very much was not an entrepreneur. Like I didn't really have that entrepreneur spirit, and I very much had to learn how to be an entrepreneur because I was someone that wanted to work a 9 to 5 and I wanted to close my laptop and I wanted to go on holidays and completely switch off and forget about my job. So I had was in a corporate role in a media agency, and before COVID it was a great job. Like I got taken out for lunch all the time. Like I had a very good social life. I felt like I was learning a lot. And when COVID happened, it basically took away all of the things that I enjoyed about my job, which meant I was then left with all the things that I didn't enjoy about my job. And I literally can remember the moment my friend Rachel texted me, like I was on holiday, and Boris had just announced that you could go back to the office like 3 days a week or something like that. There was the new rule. And I remember she texted me saying, what days of the week are you going to go back to the office? And I was like, oh my God, I'm never going back to the office in my whole life. Like I was like like literally light bulb switch. I'm not doing it. I'm not going back. I need to do something like I'm really passionate about.
Yeah.
I need to do something that I've got a bit more purpose, because I never really had that purpose and passion in my old job. So I went to my boyfriend Jack and I was like, what can I do? Like, I really hate my job. And he has been someone who has always been entrepreneurial, like selling sweets on the playground kind of vibe. And he was like, you can start a business. And at the time I was like, there is just no way. Like, how am I going to start a business? I don't know anything about product. I don't know anything about accounting. I don't know anything about packaging. And I can still remember, he literally said to me, there's no difference between me and you. The only difference is that I've done it before. He was like, there's nothing that you wouldn't be able to do. And it was from that moment, it was kind of like a snowball effect. And I was like, okay, maybe I can do it. And I knew that I had a lot of background in jewelry. So I used to work at Pandora when I was really young, like as a sales girl, and I loved it. I loved that everyone would come in and tell me a story about why they're buying the charm, what they're buying it for, loads of occasions, and that really sat well with me, because I was like, I want my business to like mean more than just like product. I want it to create emotion. I want it to create like somewhere that people can come for their special occasions. So I started researching into different materials and metals. So like one of the biggest pain points for me was you couldn't get affordable jewelry that would last long. You'd buy something for like £50 and you'd wear it twice and it would tarnish. Or you would have to get something for your birthday and it would be a couple of £100 or nearly £1,000 and you could wear it all the time. But I felt like there was a huge gap between like affordability and quality. So I basically went to market with all these different manufacturers and suppliers and honestly had no idea what I was doing. I was literally just asking loads of questions like, is this possible? Like, is my dream like that I want to do? Does it exist? And this one supplier said to me, he was like, have you heard of stainless steel? He was like, I feel like that's sort of what you're after. And I was like, no. And he was like, you should try some samples. I was like, okay, I feel like this guy is just obviously having me on, like he's just like on the other side of the world and he just wants me to buy his product. But I bought the samples, bought the product and was testing them maybe for like 6 or 7 weeks, and I was like, okay, this is a really, really good product and it's actually living up to all expectations. So then I was like, I've got the product, now I need to create like a brand. And going back to like that emotional tie, that emotional connection so I lost my mum in 2017 and I named the brand after her because so I was like, if I'm going to do this for a long period of time, I get bored so quickly and so easily. So I was like,
literally like attention span.
Like done. So I was like, I need something to like really make me stick at this, because I knew that consistency would be the thing that I would win at like eventually. And I just stuck with it for a really long period of time. And I do think it's because I had that emotional attachment to the brand, because obviously it was named after my mum, and then B, also because I was really passionate about the product. Like, I was the consumer, so I was like, it was almost like a perfect little synergy.
You knew what you wanted to like get out of from it as well. Like, it was like your love and your baby, and you created it, and it was yours. Yeah. Was your mum in jewelry at all, or was that it was just something you loved?
No, so she loved gold jewelry. So she was like my first realization. So at Pandora, they didn't do gold when I worked there, and she would get so annoyed because she'd be like, "Oh, I'm buying it from all these different brands and it doesn't last." So I knew it was like she was very much like a glamorous woman and loved all her jewelry, but she had that huge pain point as well.
Okay, I mean, you're right, like affordable jewelry that lasts is tricky. Like, it's hard to kind of get something in the sweet spot of like, I want this to look really nice, but you don't have the hundreds of millions or whatever to spend on jewelry. So creating something that is affordable, and I think that's what, like, especially in a world now where sustainability is really important, we don't want to keep rebuying things that we're going to have to put into landfill eventually. So there's like, I can totally see the kind of niche that you tapped into and why it's obviously booming and doing really well.
Thanks.
So after you had your like idea, you'd had your samples, you'd had the name, how did like the brand evolve?
Yeah, so I obviously have just given you like a little synopsis, but this is probably like a 6-month process. So it was like, I decided it, I think it was in the September, and we didn't launch until the January. I know that's not fully 6 months, but it was like a long process. It was like,
I don't think that's that long. Some of the founders I've had on have been like, we've been in development for like, 2 years, and then the brand took 6 months. So they don't actually launch after like 3 years of sitting on an idea. So actually from September to Jan, that's rapid.
Yeah, so I was very bullish in the beginning. Like, I hated my job so much that I was like, I'm going to do anything to launch this brand and like get it off the ground.
Okay.
And I also think as well, like, I took high leverage, like I did high leverage activities. So like I built the website all myself, I built the Instagram all myself, like obviously that's easy, but I built the website and then got the Instagram, and I was very much like had a checklist and I was just ticking them off. And in hindsight, I probably wasn't spending as much time as I should have on like thinking through the things that I realise that you need to think through. Like the logo was literally made on Word, like with a random font that I quite liked. And like we didn't even have, we've got it now, but we didn't even have Dlouise.com. So I was just like, we've bought it, thankfully. But it was like, I was like, oh, it's fine. I'll just have like dlouise.co.uk, and then I'll just figure out dlouise.com like down the line. But all these things you obviously you don't realise in the beginning that they're actually important down the line.
Of course.
But I very much was someone that just wanted to progress it rather than get it 100% right, because I knew that I would just learn along the way and figure out what I needed to do. So I just wanted to like start and like get going.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think that's like the best way, like throwing yourself like really in the deep end with stuff and just like getting it all done, because you can sit on things for too long and like procrastinate. And I really admire people that do just go like throwing the towel in, like we're doing this, like it's happening. But also really difficult. Like at the start, were there times when you were like, God, maybe a corporate life, like I don't love it, but like it's really easy?
Yeah, for sure. Like I think in the beginning I was super naive to what it actually takes to run and start a business, and I was very much just like, I was so passionate about the product, and then I was so passionate about like finding my purpose in life that I never wanted to stay in that old role. So I knew that even if I went for it, started this business and like left that old job, I was like, I had nothing to risk, because I was like, either the business will do well and I'll just do that, or I'll just get another job anyway. So I was like, I knew I didn't want to stay in that corporate life, basically. Did I answer that question? I did.
Yeah, you did answer that question. You just basically like, you wanted to like get out of corporate life and get into something different and unique and like super special. Was it in the early days, like how did you demand versus like your kind of initial kind of order, I guess? How did you work that out in terms of like, because it's hard, I work in food, right? So I'm dealing with shelf life. So I'm conscious of like my orders, because I'm like, if I can't send it through, I sit on waste. But you have the differences, maybe like MOQs to get like better pricing on things. You might need to order like things in bulk and stuff like that. So was that at the start, were you, because obviously, day dot, you probably have demand, but it's probably like, friends and family and like smallish orders. But you guys are huge now, and I see you everywhere, and you've like absolutely smashed it. Has it been that scaling process? How's that been?
Yeah, super difficult. And the tricky thing is with like stock, there's no right or wrong. Like I had never made a stock order in my whole entire life, and I had £1,000 to spend on stock. So this is why I love talking about this, because people just think you have to have like all the answers in the beginning. I definitely did not. I had a spreadsheet with £1,000, and then I had all my cost prices, and I basically just chose like I think we started the website with like 5 styles. So I basically just divided it through all those styles and just ordered that amount. And I was just like, let's just see what happens. And for a long time, I would just rebuy stock without any like purchase history. So I was just like, okay, what's my budget? I'll say like, okay, my next budget say was £2,000. I would then just divide that £2,000 by all the SKUs.
Right, so you weren't looking like bestsellers or like
what
was like you were sitting on and
none of that. Absolutely none of that. Like I had no training, so I was just like, I would be like, okay, so I'll order like 500 of this one, and then we'll have like 800 in stock. But then I quickly then realised, okay, now I've got like a year's worth of stock in that one product, but then maybe some of the best sellers are going out.
Okay.
So in the beginning, it was like, honestly, there was no process. There was no like, no one trying to figure out. And it was like that probably for a year and a half. So a year, I just sort of was figuring it out myself and really enjoying it. Like, I think it was like my naivety of like just giving it a go. Like, and I was just like, I'm just going to try everything and see what happens. I then, after a year and a half, we hired a first person, which was an operations person. And she obviously then came in and was like, what the hell are you doing with your stock buys? And I was like, I don't know, I'm just trying to figure it out. Like, I had a friend that worked in John Lewis, and I was like, how can you send me like your template on how you buy stock?
Yeah,
and
like your purchase order template.
Yeah, basically. And she sent me that, and she was like, okay, you need to start looking at like what you already have in stock before you buy new stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, it was just like, honestly, like gut feel, like, okay, I need more of this, I need more of that. And I worked really closely with building that relationship with my supplier, because at the end of the day, they're just people as well, and they have their own business, and they could very much see that I was obviously not skilled in the MOQ situation. So they were just trying to help me as much as I was like trying to buy from them.
Yeah.
And I think that's super important to like whoever if you're trying to start a business and you're going through that manufacturing process. I very much think that people overlook their manufacturers, and they almost think of them like as like this alien on the other side of the world that isn't a real human being. But actually, if you work with them on a very personal level, they just want to help you as much as you want to help them.
Yeah, because you're their customer, and like they're yours, like biggest, like, you know, they're like your heart of the business. Without them, there's no stock, etc.
Yeah. So she was our first hire, took over all the operations side of it because I was awful at it. And then in terms of just scaling, so we were very fortunate that where I had a small SKU count in the beginning, we were basically just like selling, rebuying, until it got to, I think the one place that we super messed up with the scaling is we had Black Friday 2022, and it basically just exceeded all of our expectations. Like, I think we did like 5 times what we were supposed to.
Wow.
Which meant we then sold out all of our stock for Christmas, January, February, and then of course you have Chinese New Year, so no one's manufacturing. So we literally had no stock for about 3 months, and I was like, obviously it was amazing because we sold it all on Black Friday, but it was just like, yeah, it was.
Was that because firstly it exceeded expectations in terms of just like people on site, but do you think maybe like you discounted too hard, that people like bought a lot more than they may have done?
Yeah, I definitely also think like,
okay,
we probably I think we did like I think it was crazy, like 50% off everything. Again, like no plan or structure in place. Like, I think I literally decided the day before, like, let's do everyone's doing Black Friday, should we do 50% off? And
which obviously would kill your stock level.
So then I was just making these decisions in the moment, and it was like, obviously looking back now, I'm like, you're an idiot, but it was just like, it was just fun and gut feel, and I was like, I'm just trying to make it happen, versus like, it needs to be calculated, it needs to be like this. Obviously now our decisions are more calculated, and we've got very talented people in the business that can help me figure that all out. But yeah, it was just like seeing what happened when I was just making these crazy decisions.
Yeah, but also like at the start, like naivety is so important.
Yeah.
Like, you are learning loads, and actually by not knowing the consequences of stuff, it's almost like your little guardian angel at the same time. Because 100%. If you did know all the barriers, like, you probably wouldn't end up doing it. You'd be like, if that's going to happen, like, no, I'm not putting myself through it.
Yeah, 100%. I say that all the time. I'm like, if I knew what I know now, I probably wouldn't have gone into it. I obviously wanted to still get out of that situation, but it was so hard that I would probably think twice about going into it again.
Yeah, fair enough. I think most people would, right? Because, like, what is it? Like, there's a massive stat. It's like 97% of businesses fail in their first, or 77% of businesses fail in their first year, which like is so high, like over 50% of them, you know. Yeah. And then it's like another like further 10 then fail in the second year. Yeah. So it is crazy that like if you've got to really want it as well. Like, you can't be doing this on a whim. It's got to be like, I'm putting everything into this.
100%.
Those 5 pieces on the website that you started with, do you still have any of them available?
Yeah,
today?
we actually do. Yeah,
No
so
way.
I'm not wearing them, but they're very much in the range. So the Essentials necklace, which is like such a crowd pleaser. It's like the herringbone chain. Have you seen like a flat gold necklace? Annoyingly, I've had a crazy week and I forgot to bring all the samples that I was supposed to bring.
Don't worry at all.
Yeah, I've got a few.
You.
Yeah. So the Essentials necklace was like our first piece, and it is still continues to be our bestseller. And then just like
I'll pop it up here.
Yeah, we can. Yeah,
this is the Essentials necklace.
And the paperclip necklace. That was the 2 that are still in the range that we first bought. But yeah, that was again just off gut feel. Like, I'm not a designer. I just bought what I wanted to buy, and they were like top of my list. So yeah.
And then inspiration. How do you get your inspo for your ranges?
So, like I just said, I'm not a designer, but I know what I like. So I work with very talented designers and people who can almost like bring my vision to life. I am creative, but not in a way that is like, I can't really think of like concepts. But I know a good piece of jewelry. So I love working with people that I'll say, oh, have you seen this or have you seen that? And I very much take a lot of inspiration from like vintage pieces. Like, I think vintage jewelry is gorgeous.
I'm looking at your earrings, and that's your new launch.
Yeah, so they literally have launched today, and these are very much inspired by like vintage pieces, because I think vintage, I love like classic, timeless, elegant pieces. Like, even with what I wear, like I very much like
capsule.
I don't like the fast fashion, and I don't really like tapping into trends unless they're there for like a long time. So I feel like that definitely comes through. Like, our jewelry design is very classic, very like timeless pieces that you can just go for a time and time again.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. I think that is the way that we're seeing in fashion, like everywhere, in every type of fashion. It is more like going for that capsule wardrobe and like not overbuying. And even secondhand now, like vintage is obviously like huge. People are really going on there and finding things that they maybe couldn't afford at the start. But when I think of like classy jewelry and like that very classic, I always think of like Chanel. I think it has like such their jewelry, like their clothing though, it's like, it's timeless. Like the black 100%. And white, it's just never died.
Yeah,
like it will be forever. But yeah, excited to get into what you've got on today. So show me what you've got.
So I've actually got, so I'm a huge lover of bezel. Anything bezel I love, which is like basically like a classic tennis, but they obviously like you go round the stone. So I've got the bezel bracelet and the bezel ring to match. Our biggest bestseller is our tennis bracelet.
Okay.
So everyone who buys this on the website says how pleasantly surprised they are. Like, this is priced at £75, and I personally think if you receive that in the post, £75, I think it could be priced at £1,000.
Yeah.
And I always love giving people like more value than they think that they've spent, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's like a huge point for us, is like the tennis. How can we bring that like luxury feel to like an everyday jewelry brand? This is the bamboo, which launched at Christmas, which is now we're now keeping in the range because it just sold so well. And this is the wrap ring, which is a very good seller. I basically think anything that I wear, I very much know my customer.
Yeah.
And anything
right?
Anything I love, they also love. So I'm very much involved in like that planning process of like, would I wear that piece? Would I not wear it? And then we sort of then make a range based on like what I like, and also what the girls like in the office as well, because I feel like it can't just be me.
Yeah. And then this one here, this one's obviously priced at £75 as well, and that's available on the website.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. I'll be ordering that one later. I'm joking, that's not a dealer with you.
No.
And team, so like you said, you've got an amazing kind of person that's taken over operations. Obviously at the start you said that you weren't, you didn't know a lot. How important was it for you to kind of build up the right team at the start? And so also now to this day.
Definitely. I think the one thing for startups is that they think that they have to hire so many people, and one thing that we have been super keen on in Dlouise is keeping that headcount low, because I think what happens is when you grow or scale fast, you think that you then have to grow the team really fast, but actually if you get the right people in the right seats, you can really scale slowly and progress over time versus hiring loads of people and sort of having then difficulties if you don't maintain that growth. I think for me the biggest thing about team and talent and people you have around you is they have to be like super adaptable, super flexible. Like it's a startup. Like I wear so many hats. Like one day I could be posting on the Instagram, and then one day I'll like be at the warehouse figuring out like what barcodes and SKUs go on each product. So I think it's about having like that, finding people that have that adaptability and the flexibility in their roles. And then I think the biggest thing for me is like the right mindset and the right attitude. I will not hire anyone who has an ego. Like I think humility is so important in any business.
Yeah.
And I don't want anyone in our team to say, oh, that's not my role or that's not my job. It's very much like we're all in this together and we all win together and we all lose together. So we're still quite a small team. Like in the office day to day there's about 10 of us, so it's still very lean, which is great, and we're not really looking to hire any more in that sort of ecosystem for the next year. But I think team is the hardest thing, and people management and making sure everyone's doing the right things and at the right times is really tricky.
Yeah.
And I also my personal trait is like I just want to be friends with everyone, and I'm very much trying to figure out that balance between like professionalism and friendship, because where you are small, you basically are friends pretty much because you see them every day. I spend so much time with my team, so yeah, I'm definitely working on that. But I also think as well, like it's not bad. There's worse things that I could be.
There's definitely worse things you could be, and
Yeah.
even like my job now, there's 25 of us in the team. I am like so friendly with all of them. Like
Yeah.
I'm a total oversharer as well. So I'll come into the office and be like, oh my god, this happened last night, and everyone's like TMI, and I'm like, whatever. Like we all
Yeah.
know each other really well, and I've also been there 6 years, so like I'm literally ingrained into the furniture.
Yeah.
But I do not work as hard as I work for the company if I didn't have the friendship thing.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. That's good.
Like no way would I bust my gut selling coconut yogurt the way I do if it wasn't for like Claire, James, and like my team. Like, it just wouldn't. I wouldn't do it. Like why? If I don't get that respect back.
Yeah. No, 100%. I get that.
I'm not that. And they really like value everyone as like an individual, and I think that's another thing when you're like the higher people in the business, like the senior team they really value you, like your time and your energy, and they reward you, like, you know, well done when you've done well, like good things. And then obviously if you haven't made a mistake, that's so fine, because we all are going to make mistakes, but like constructive criticism, like I used to take criticism so badly, and now I'm like, give it to me, like I want to become better for them. So like that respect thing as well, I think is like so important in a business. Yeah, agreed. Especially working from home and everything now, like you've got to like almost prove yourself more because you're not in the office every day. So it's like a weird balance. But so you've just done a pop-up in New York. Yes. And have you got one in London? Have you had one in London?
We had one in London.
You had one in London. So strategy. So at the moment, are you purely D2C?
Yeah, 100% D2C. We are in flannels and Frasers, but only in like a few stores.
Okay. Is it a plan to stay D2C? Is it a plan to maybe have like a physical store one day? Is it a plan to, I guess, like, branch into maybe like the Selfridges, the Harrods, like have concessions? What's the Dlouise vision? Yeah, so I think particularly for jewellery, there is a huge demand for seeing it in person. Like I think people want to try it on, they want to see how it feels, they want to feel the weight, and that's something that I definitely want to offer to our customers and community. They are craving like that Dlouise in person, and that has shown at our 2 pop-ups, because it was just like the amount of people that showed up was obviously incredible. So I think the way that we will show up will happen this year, and we're basically going through like a huge thing. Okay. What month is this going live? This will go out probably like October, November.
Okay, fine. Okay. So we're having a rebrand in May.
Amazing.
Yeah, so like I was saying in the beginning, I never put any thought into the branding, the colours, the logo, anything like that. So we're having a bit of a restructure with that. And once that has happened, then I'm like, let's go for it in terms of like physical retail, in terms of like your Selfridges, all those kind of things. But basically we need to do this huge piece of brand work first so that we can go to these retailers and we can show up in person in a way that we feel really confident in.
Yeah.
And I think as well, like just for us, like where we're like a small brand, where we need to show up in a way that's not really been done before is like we can be so agile with it, and we can really like push the boundaries in terms of like what that looks like. Like I don't think you need to have like a physical store anymore. I think you can have like really fun concepts, and where we are like a fun brand, I really want to bring that to life sort of in person.
And people are craving that from the high street. Like the high street is a bit boring, it can be a bit dull.
Yeah.
So like, you know, innovation and like experience in store is key. And like I did like retail at uni, like retail management, so like I understand like the stores and how that whole worked. And even then, back when I was at university, it was all about the theatre, but I don't feel like it's really been implemented until like the last couple of years, where it's been like all about the experience, and people go in and they want more than their product. Now they want to come out being like, I would go back because I got a cup of coffee or a matcha when I arrived, and then, you know, someone took my coat, or like, I don't know, there was a photo booth in there. Like you go for all that as well.
100%. Yeah, so I think like people will always remember how you've made them feel. So I think that will be like a huge part of our strategy, is like people will be like, we'll be known for our stores. And that's why we haven't done it for like the last 4 years, is because once we do it, we want to do it really good and we want to do it really well. So we're like being almost like saving ourselves for like the right moment and the right time. And so I think it will be, if it's not this year, it'll definitely be next year, so 2026.
Yeah,
so
26.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll get stock orders right by that point. We're ordering enough of each one.
Yeah, definitely.
In terms of like investment, so when you started the business, how did you fund it?
Yeah, so I was very fortunate that Jack actually gave me some money. So he gave me £2,000 to start the business, which, like looking back now, is like actually not a lot of money to invest into a business, but that is also quite good that people could probably achieve that amount of money, like in terms of if they were starting now. So Jack very much funded the business from his other business, in the start. So he invested 2,000, then we sold that stock, and it was almost then like we would just sell and then rebuy, sell and rebuy, and we were very much out of stock like a lot of the time when we didn't have the capital and the cash to keep reinvesting. But being D2C and selling on something like Shopify, you get paid out within 2 days. So it was definitely like a balance of, have we got enough cash, have we got enough stock? And it was really, really tricky, probably for like the first 3 years, because we had to be very careful with what we spent and why. And we worked very hard on payment terms with our suppliers. So where we had worked with the same supplier for like over a year, we then were able to negotiate terms, which is like something that lots of people don't realise you can do. So effectively we could sell the stock before we had to pay them for the stock. So that was a huge strategy for us in terms of keeping that cash flow going.
Yeah, because I guess at the start, you had the £2,000, but some people might not have, you know, the 10,000 that it might cost them, for example, to invest in the capital to kind of like, well, get the stock.
Yeah.
But then the factory's also got to take a chance on you, because they've also got to say, I could produce all this, but she might not be able to pay me.
Yeah.
So like that, there's a big risk from each side.
And that's why relationships are so important. Like I go to China. Go to China like once a year, maybe even twice a year now. But my biggest recommendation would be, in the beginning, if you can afford to get on a flight to China and go and meet them in person, it will be the most valuable thing that you ever do, because they then just believe in you and they trust you, and they feel like, I only got those payment terms after I went and visited them in person. So I think it's like, and like realistically, it's only a flight, and China is so cheap once you're there. Like we stayed in the nicest hotel and it'd be like £25 a night. So it's like, it's not that like it's gonna go, you go there and it's gonna cost you like 10 grand. Yes, the initial flight will be expensive, but once you're there, it's actually not expensive to meet and interact with them. So I think that would be like my biggest recommendation, because once you've done that, you then would be able to get good payment terms, and that really, really helps with your cash flow.
Yeah. And then after obviously that £2,000 initially, have you raised investment? Are you looking to raise, or is it all still kind of personally funded?
Yeah, so we, after that crazy Black Friday that I mentioned, we were like, oh God, we're like really onto something here. Like we probably need to seek outside advice and just making sure that we're focusing on the right things, getting all our ducks in the row. Because I think when you're a startup, you don't really know what like no one's telling you, right, this is what you need to do and that's why you need to do it. So at this point, Jack had sold his other business, and he was like,
everyone
right,
needs a Jack.
I know, he is great.
We do.
He is great. And he sold his other business, and he was then moving full time onto Dlouise. And he was like, if I'm going to do this, we need to make sure that we're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So I had a friend who used to work at Gymshark, and he basically came to me and was like, all of the C-suites of Gymshark have just left, and they've set up an advisory company called For Now. And he was like, I think that you should go and talk to him about like Dlouise, because he like knew a little bit about the business. He was like, I think it would be like amazing. So we got on a call with them, and they basically had all these like, they had these rules, like you couldn't go there unless you had like £10 million revenue, and we were at like, I think at this point we were about 4 million. But I think they just liked me. I don't know. I just sent them an email, sent them like a little pitch deck. And I was like, I would just like 10 minutes of your time, and got on a call with them. And they were like, yeah, I think we want to meet you in person. So did like what they call a discovery day. And at this point we weren't looking for investment. We were just looking for advice, because we were just all over the place. Like stock wasn't in, we were out of stock. It was just chaos. So we started working with them on an advisory basis, and from like the first meeting, it just felt so different. Like we just completely got on, and they loved the story. So Steve is a very personable character. So loved the story, loved the message behind the brand. And he also just loved our P&L, thankfully. And he then approached us, was like, I want a piece of the pie. Like, would you take investment? And initially, like my gut feel was like, no, like we don't need it. Like we didn't need the cash. But then obviously, like I was like, I really want Steve though. So we went away and eventually came to an agreement. And it's honestly been like one of the best things that we've ever done. It was a very small investment, and it was a very small percentage of the business, so I don't have any like seller remorse. But Steve has come in and just made us so simple, and everyone is on the same page, and we have a mission and we have values, and we live by those values. And I think that we would have got to where we are today without him, but I think we have definitely got there quicker with him. So I think it's about, if you are looking for that investment, or if you are looking for someone to come in external, it's about having the same value sets, having the same goals, and it's also about having, I think you have smart capital. So instead of just taking the money and then they just want a return on the investment, like Steve is he's rooting for the brand, like, and
he's
not
invested,
just
like, emotionally,
he's
financially.
emotionally and financially, like he wants us to do well. And I definitely think that you need to have that relationship with an investor. It's like Steve always says, it's like, it's worse than getting married, because like you are literally going into bed with this person, so you have to know every single thing about them. And for us, I've had a very positive experience with it, but I know that out there it's a bit wild and rookie, so it's just being careful with who you choose to go into business with.
It's funny, isn't it? It's like, it comes back to like the dating theory as well. Like when you're like desperate for investment, desperate to like meet someone, you probably end up maybe meeting the wrong person or getting the wrong investment, but you just like weren't bothered. Like you were like, what, you weren't not bothered, but like you didn't need it. So you weren't like seeking it, and then they came running, and it's like literally the same as dating. When you're like, oh, I'm not interested, they're all like, oh my god, now I really want you. So it's like that same scenario, which is quite funny. And marketing is like such a big piece of the pie nowadays, especially with like LinkedIn and personal brand. So this is like a bit of a new like phenomenon, I think, within like personal brand. Like, no, like founders of businesses obviously had like a massive part to play, but we didn't know the stories of them, like really, like we didn't know why and the hows and the whats behind the brand. And this is like firstly why I started the podcast, because it allows me to kind of tell the stories of the brands. But also the personal brand thing, like we want to know what you have for breakfast. We want to know your workout routine. Like we want to know your wellness activity. So how important is personal brand to Dlouise?
Yeah, so I think, so for the first 2 years of the brand, I had a private Instagram, and I then was not someone that was good on camera. I did not know how to talk in an interview. I obviously knew the story because it was my story, but I didn't even really know how to articulate it. And when we met Steve, he was just like, why does no one know who you are, and why does no one know your story? And I was like, because like in my head, I was like, why would anyone care? And he was the one that said, he was like, right, today is the day, like you need to flip that narrative, and you are so ingrained in the brand that everyone needs to know who you are. And I'm not going to lie, in the beginning, it was really, really tricky. Like I found it so hard because it's not something that comes naturally to me. And it's really funny, it's really ironic. Loads of people say to me, oh my God, you're such a natural behind the camera. But honestly, you should have seen my first videos. I was horrendous. Like I was not a natural. And like, I think as well, like just going back to like belief and what people think is, I always thought that like once you're like a certain way, that there's no way you could be like anything else. And I would very much label myself as a person that would never be able to be on camera and never be able to do public speaking. But even like at uni, I would do public speaking and like present to like a group of like 10 people. I would sweat and I would forget my words and I would not know what to say. And then literally last night I did a talk in front of like 50 people. I didn't even prep for it because I was like so used to being able to show up that way. So I think it's like the whole reason why I'm saying this is because you can basically achieve and become whoever you want to become. And I think that society always like limits your beliefs on who you can be. But going back to that was a segue, but going back to the founder. So I think the biggest thing for me is what I found is that people buy from people. So obviously people buy from Dlouise because they love the product and we offer an excellent service and they're very happy with their experience. But I also think that people buy Dlouise because they're invested in me and my story. And I think that people in their lives often go through lots of hardship, and hardship is really hard to talk about. And where I talk about my mum and I talk about the things that I've been through, people really resonate with that and they have like an emotional connection because they feel inspired by the story and they almost like see themselves in me. And for me, that is like the biggest driver in like everything that we do, and why I will keep continuing to spread the message is because if I can just help one person get through whatever bad situation they're going through, like for me that is like a huge success, and it means that I can help everyone. One thing I always say is like, it's not about, you can't choose what happens to you in life, but you can choose how you react to it. And I think the way that I've reacted to the things that have happened to me has been in a very positive light, and I basically just want to inspire people to also go down that route rather than the negative side.
Definitely, and I think actually the more people do talk about it, like you and others in your situation or that have gone through similar hardships, is really important, because the more that people are speaking about it, the more it becomes relatable and the more people can build connection on that. And that is something that, yeah, like I guess pre-social media like wasn't really available. So like the personal brand thing, you being able to share those stories is inspiring others to maybe join a similar journey or to like buy Dlouise and be part of it. And as you said, like, you know your customer so well, so having that like touch point with them is amazing, and something that like I think all brands really do need. You definitely need that like personal connection with the brand, because like in order to sustain relationships and continue to like make them come back and buy like different pieces and stuff, you need that, because as humans, like we're not that loyal to like really, like we aren't. So I don't necessarily always shop at Tesco. Like if there's a Sainsbury's there, I'll pop there. Like whereas like if they're like, no, I buy Dlouise, like that's my choice of jewelry. Like that's by having that brand connection with your customer, like that's your biggest asset.
Yeah, I agree. And I think as well, like that it has to be authentic. Like no one can be you apart from you. And I think where we have done so well in that story sort of narrative, it is true and it is what happened to me. And I show up for the brand genuinely as myself, and I'm very, very like cautious to never lose that side of me, because I think once you grow you can be like, oh, I don't want to say that in case I offend someone, but for me, I am so authentic, and like I really struggle to not be authentic. So I think that's sort of where our superpower is, in terms of I'm not willing to change who I am. Obviously I like growing and learning and adapting, but I definitely feel like I'm very like an authentic person.
Yeah, like you are you, and you sell, as you said, people are buying you as well as like the brand.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. In terms of what is next for you guys, so we've spoken about obviously maybe having like a different kind of store type, but in terms of like bigger brand goals, and like after the kind of brand refresh, where do you see the company in like 5 to 10 years?
I think there is I'm so opinionated. There's like a narrative these days that you start a brand and then you have to build it and sell it. I'm very much against that. Like, I love Dlouise and I want to work on it for like the next 5, 10, 15 years. Like, I always love the idea of my kids working for this brand. Like, for me, I just think it would be so special to have like a family business and just to scale it to that level. Like, I think Pandora is like my biggest motivator. They are a humongous business and they're global, and they've been going for like, I don't know, say 80 years or whatever. And like, I very much see Dlouise going in that direction. So I'm very much making decisions now in the day to day that I'm doing this for the long term. And like, me and Jack are in this business for like as long as we can be. And I get that it's not that sexy to say that, and I'm not looking for a big exit, but yeah, I definitely want to it means so much to me, so I want to just stick with it for as long as possible.
And what's it like working with Jack day to day?
Yeah, it's actually okay. So we always say that we're like yin and yang. Like, we are totally opposite people. Like, he is so like commercially and financially driven, and I am so not commercially and financially driven. Okay. Like, I just love the creativity, I love the nice product, I love the photo shoots, I love the marketing. So we work really well together because we're almost like a perfect like synergy, like a beautiful like ecosystem where we are totally opposite, but when it comes together it works really well. And don't get me wrong, like, we have days where I'm like, you are annoying me and get out of my head. But I personally think like it is such a privilege to be able to work with him, and I think you spend so much of your life working, and I just feel like it's a privilege to be able to work with him and spend time with him.
Definitely. And they always say like, marry your best friend anyway, don't they? So you really do have to love him in like a friend way, but also like a love way too. And what would you say would have been like one of your, I guess, major challenges with Dlouise? So
I think we have faced many challenges. I definitely think cash flow is obviously a huge issue. Now it's okay, but it was a huge issue in the beginning. I think for us it's just awareness. It's like getting that huge amount of traction with not a lot of budget. And I think last year we did a lot of work on like organic brand building, and it's really, really tricky to look at the ROI, and that for Jack's commercial mind is like, I'm like, we need to do this fun brand event and it'll cost like 20 grand, and he's like, but where, like, for him he just sees that money is going like down the drain, which is so tricky. Like, because paid advertising, you put in £1, you get £2 out, so whereas we're actually needing to invest more money into the brand side of it.
It's so, like, I struggle with that as well. Like, I am very, I'd say not very commercially driven, but like I'm a bit of both. Like, I'm in the sales team at my day job, but like without that like brand piece and the kind of guerrilla marketing type things, I do think it's really hard to grow. And like that noise then snowballs, and yes, they might not buy you that year, but they then might see you in a magazine 2 years later and go, oh, I went to that, and do you know what, I might now. So it is really hard to track if John that went to that buys it. Like, I don't know how you do it, and whoever invents that will be a millionaire, because that is, it's impossible right now. But without those things, I think you're not making the noise, and noise is everything. And even if it is, you know, you obviously like can fake a bit of noise as well on LinkedIn, like you can make yourself look a lot bigger than you are, but those in-person events, I think they do build noise, and they do. So I know, I get what Jack's saying, because we have the same like conversations internally, but but are they going to buy after? Well, I don't know. And then the MD's like, well, obviously not then. But I'm like, no. You've got to do these things because they really are important.
Yeah, 100%. Like one thing that we track like religiously is like organic sessions to the website. And we've seen a huge increase this year. And it was after I did we had this crazy idea. Ollie actually thought it was Ollie's idea. And I don't know if you saw, I walked from Cardiff to London.
Yes, I did.
So, which is like, we decided to do it like 2 weeks before. There was no money to be spent on it, so it didn't actually cost us anything. But it absolutely blew up our brand from an organic side of things. So it was, now I'm doing it again this year, by the way, which is like crazy. But like that was a huge brand moment, and it drove so much organic traffic.
Why?
So I think it obviously, so it's called the Walk and Talk, and it was basically all to do with my story in terms of like, I wanted to encourage people to like be able to talk about grief. And I think walking is a very good way of like a good headspace. You can walk next to someone, you haven't got eye contact with them, and loads of people were like opening up on this walk, and that was the main aim of that. And I think people were craving it. I think they were craving that outlet to talk about grief and losing people, and I think it just aligned so well with the brand and who we are and our brand values that then again it wasn't forced, it was authentic. It was like, we're going to do this charity walk, we're going to raise loads of money, and we're also at the same time going to encourage people to talk about grief and hardship they've been through. So I think it was like a beautiful little synergy of all things that made sense, and then I think people just really resonated with it.
Yeah, like it really, the Walk and Talk I think is a different like approach to a lot, like, as you said, like it's super authentic. Like you weren't doing that and being like, right, let's do a brand stunt. Like this was real, this was raw, like this was you talking to the customer, and like connection is everything, especially post-COVID. Like people want connection, they want to feel like they are like valued and they're listened to. And I think what you're building at Dlouise is so special.
Thank you.
If you had like bits and pieces of advice for kind of entrepreneurs maybe listening or wanting to start the journey, or 5 years in, what would you like look back on and go, I would tell them this?
So I've got a few. So my main one is, I was someone that very much just did what everyone told me to do. So I went to school, then I went to sixth form, then I went to university, then I got a job. And I never actually took the time to figure out what I wanted. I would literally just do whatever. Like I remember, this is how bad it was. I remember the day before we were like applying to universities, I text my friend like, what course are you doing? Because I don't know what to do. Like it was very much just, I was like someone who had just floated through life and never really like, right, what am I interested in? What am I good at? And I think, so my biggest piece of advice would be figure out who you are, figure out what you want out of life, and then go down that path rather than just doing things for like the sake of it. So that's my one biggest piece, because I think I would have probably done something different from the very beginning. And then my second piece is, it's a bit cliche, but I always think progress over perfection. Like if I didn't post the first photo on Dlouise because it wasn't good, I probably wouldn't have started the business. Like in the beginning, it was very much just like I was posting pictures that I knew that they weren't 100%, but if I had waited for them to be perfect, I would have never have posted them. So I think it's like, get out your head a little bit. And
yeah, so what if your washing's in your story? It's real. You got up in the morning and it is there. My knickers are on, show to the world.
Yeah, so I think it's about being like really just like going for it. So get that progress, get that one post, right? Okay, that one post wasn't amazing. What can I do better the next post? So it's about like constantly evolving. And then my other piece of advice that has just gone out my head that I was going to say is, I know, patience. So I very much rushed into Dlouise. Like I rushed everything, the brand, the logo, the like, obviously not the name, but like the branding, the logo, the website. Like I feel like if I had just taken a little bit longer to figure out what I actually wanted the brand to be and how I wanted it to show up, then we wouldn't be needing to do this rebrand. So obviously, but I didn't know. So again, progress is better than perfection. But yeah, I think like just be real and honest with yourself about like you probably want to work for like the next 10, 20, 30 years. So it's like look on a longer time horizon, right? I've got 30 years to build a business. Then I think you would make better, more calculated decisions rather than like it needs to be like this in the next year kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. I'm so excited. Like, I want to come to like your next pop-up because I didn't make the London one, so I want to come to that. I want to see where you guys go. I can't wait to see the rebrand. So yeah, I'm very excited. But thank you so much, Olivia, for coming on Getting to Grow.
Thank you for having me.